Hi guys, I really hope that you're well. Salut tout le monde, j'espère que vous allez tous très bien. So I can't sleep, alors j'arrive pas à dormir. Or j'arrive pas à m'endormir, to fall asleep. So I was reading online and it said, if you can't sleep, something really cool to do is think of all the different places that you have slept. C'est qu'effectivement quelque chose que tu pourrais faire, c'est de penser à tous les endroits différents où tu as dormi. Not with whom, pas avec qui, but where you slept, où tu as dormi. Um, and it's really weird. It's bringing back some really, really, really interesting memories. Alors ça me rappelle plusieurs choses en fait. J'ai beaucoup de souvenirs. So interestingly, I thought, Luke, think of another bed that you slept in apart from the two that you sleep in now. Alors Luke, réfléchis bien. Où est-ce que tu dors à part les deux lits où tu dors maintenant? And I was like, weirdly, when I was 21, I was on a dance job in Cyprus. Alors quand j'avais 21 ans, je travaillais en tant que danseur en Chypre. And I was like, why am I thinking of that bedroom? Pourquoi est-ce que je pense à cette chambre? Nice hotel. Very nice hotel. I remember the smell, the balcony, the smell of the air and all this. Alors, je me souviens bien du parfum de l'air with all like the plants and stuff, avec toutes les plantes. But it was really weird. So yeah, so I thought that's quite a weird idea for a video, for some vocabulary. So I'm going to describe some of the places I've slept. Alors je vais décrire quelques endroits où j'ai dormi. So I'm going to start with this room. Alors je vais commencer avec cette chambre. Okay, so there's a series of wardrobes all along the one wall. Il y a une série d'armoires tout au long du mur. And then lots of mirrors. Il y a beaucoup de miroirs. And the mirrors are sort of mock art nouveau, art deco, because my other grandmother was obsessed with Rennie Mackintosh. Alors effectivement, des miroirs sont faux art déco, faux art nouveau, parce que mon autre grand-mère, elle était obsédée, elle avait cette obsession pour, Charles Rennie Mackintosh? A Scottish artist, an artist écossais, from Glasgow, de Glasgow. Yes, and this is a great room. Alors c'est une chambre formidable, c'est une chambre superbe because it's always really warm. Il fait toujours chaud, not too warm, but you've got this layer of air from the cold walls because it's windy here. Parce qu'il fait du vent ici. Il y a cette couche protectrice because of the wardrobes. So there's only one wall exposed effectively because the one wall has the wardrobes, the other wall is the inside of the house, the other wall is the corridor inside the house. Donc effectivement, il n'y a qu'un seul mur, exposé au vent, effectivement, parce qu'il y a 3 murs. Ça, c'est l'intérieur de la maison, ça, c'est l'intérieur de la maison. Et là, il y a des armoires. Yep. And I like everything sort of furnished and dark sort of wood and everything. Alors moi, j'aime bien tout ce qui est un peu meublé, les couleurs plus foncées, but weirdly, I always keep the bedroom super light and clean. Alors, normalement, j'ai une chambre, ouais, très claire, dans l'éclair. Good. My bedroom in London is like an art gallery. There's just so many paintings and pictures of the sea. You normally see them behind the video. Alors, là où je dors à Londres, effectivement, ma chambre, il n'y a que des images, des photos, des peintures de la mer. Vous en voyez deux derrière ma tête quand j'enregistre mes vidéos. And that's really nice. And even though there's not a great view from the window, il n'y a pas de belle vue de la fenêtre, just opposite me, there's actually a stained glass window because the house is of a certain age. Alors juste en face de moi, il y a un vitrail parce que ce sont des maisons d'un certain âge. So I'm not going to go chronologically, I'm just going to think of some interesting places I've slept in my life. Alors, je ne vais pas le faire en ordre chronologique, mais je vais penser aux endroits intéressants où j'ai dormi pendant ma vie. So really weirdly, I don't know why, my brain has just gone to when I was living in Paris with my friend Mike. Alors, je pense à quand j'habitais à Paris avec mon pote Mike. Mike was a Danish... I'm still friends with Mike, alors je reste toujours ami avec Mike. Mike was a singer in a rock band, alors c'était un chanteur. dans un groupe de musique rock, and I can't even pronounce the name of his band. Alors j'ai du mal à prononcer le nom de son groupe. I think it's Nemek or something like that. They're Danish. Ils sont danois. And we'd all met in a youth hostel. Alors on s'est tous rencontrés dans un hôtel, dans un auberge de jeunesse, and we needed somewhere to stay just for a couple of weeks because we'd found a flat near sort of, was it Père Lachaise? No, Métro Voltaire. Yeah, and we just needed somewhere for a couple of weeks. Donc il nous fallait effectivement un appartement pour 2-3 semaines. And so we found this absolute shithole in a loft in Châtelet-Léal. Alors on a trouvé, mais de la merde, un appartement de merde, quoi, dans un grenier à Châtelet. And it's like, there was like a square space in the behind the beams where you were supposed to slide the mattress and slide it out. Donc il y avait effectivement cet espace un peu plutôt carré derrière effectivement la poutre. On était censé glisser le matelas, faire passer le matelas, but there wasn't a mattress and we kind of slept on the plaster, mais il n'y avait pas de matelas, on a dormi sur le plâtre. It was seriously the worst conditions ever, but when you're 21, you don't care. Mais no, I think I was 20. No, 19. Mais on s'en foutait, quoi, parce que cet âge-là, on s'en foutait. And we were right in the middle of Paris, and we were so uncomfortable that we used to just get up all night. On était vraiment pas bien, quoi. Il n'y avait aucun confort. But we were just happy. On était contents. So we used to get up in the middle of the night and just walk around Paris. I remember we were obsessed, the pair of us, with like sort of chicken, sort of, and we used to just compare all the kind of like Turkish restaurants and their chicken and stuff. Alors on faisait des comparaisons entre tous les restos turcs et leur poulet, and all this vile burger sauce and barbecue sauce. Alors cette sauce un peu barboque, enfin dégueu, quoi. Yeah, and it was seriously, it was the worst building. It was the worst building. Le pire, le pire. Let me think of other places I've slept. I remember sleeping in, I remember being in a bedroom in a really old hotel in Cricketh in northwest Wales. Alors moi, je me souviens bien, Luke, I need some water, my mouth is dry. Oui, alors je me souviens bien de, I can't be asked, but I need water. De dormir dans un vieux bâtiment, un vieil hôtel, dans le nord-ouest du Pays de Galles, because it was the 40th anniversary, it was the 40th wedding anniversary of my dad's parents. C'était le 40e anniversaire de mariage des parents de mon père. And they were friends of my aunt, alors c'était des amis de ma tante. And yeah, and I just remember thinking it was the coolest, weirdest old building. Alors franchement, c'était un bâtiment un peu bizarre. Yeah, and it just had the weirdest atmosphere. Alors l'ambiance, mais bizarre, quoi. I'm fairly sure that there were several people from the beyond, spirits, who were with us. Alors j'étais largement sûr qu'il y avait plusieurs personnes de l'au-delà avec nous, but yeah, l'au-delà, the beyond. Ghosts and stuff, des fantômes, it was weird. Although I don't like that word, alors j'aime pas ce mot. But yeah, and I could hear the sea. I could hear the waves. Alors j'entendais la mer, des vagues. It was yeah, that was cool. Equally, I remember being by the sea because when I was younger, my grandparents every year used to go to what was then Yugoslavia. C'est que quand j'étais plus jeune, mes grands-parents, ils allaient chaque année à l'ancienne Yougoslavie, what is now Croatia, ce qui est maintenant la Croatie. In a tiny little island called Lopud, alors une minuscule, qui s'appelait Lopud, qui s'appelle toujours Lopud, where cars weren't allowed, alors les voitures n'étaient pas permises. But yeah, and that was I think that was the first time I'd slept in a big hotel. Yes, it's certainly the first time I was on an airplane. Alors c'était la première fois que j'ai pris un avion. Yeah, and that was really cool. And it was the first time, it was just the first time that I remember places, because for me, France didn't smell different. Pour moi, la France, voilà, le parfum était largement la même chose. Which is weird because now when I go to sort of Paris and things, I always think it smells different. I always think the metro smells different. Alors je pense toujours que le métro a une espèce d'odeur un peu différente. But yeah, and I remember just thinking, oh well. And that was the coolest room as well. Um, the style, and it was just that sort of like mid-century modern hotel, a little bit 60s in beige and brown, like very luxury. My grandparents didn't go cheap. And I just remember thinking it looked like a Bond villain's like house. Alors effectivement, ça ressemblait à la maison, yeah, du mauvais, euh, le vilain dans un dans un film Bond. Yeah, where else have I slept? Different places in London. I remember the very first place that I had in London, alors effectivement, mon premier appartement à Londres, was in East Finchley. And I bought these candles, these coconut candles, and it just smelt so, so, so nice. It was really, really nice actually. Alors j'ai acheté ces bougies et c'était trop parfumé l'appartement. And it was this really old German woman, was the landlady. Alors effectivement, une vieille allemande, c'était la propriétaire. And it used to really make me laugh because you came out of East Finchley Tube and there was a McDonald's University. Alors à l'époque, on sortait du métro East Finchley, il y avait l'université de McDonald's. It was like a training academy for McDonald's executives. Alors c'était comme une espèce de d'académie de formation pour des cadres McDo. Yeah, and it was again, it was just all like in oak, like all the wood in the house, and like a really lovely garden. Alors c'était en chêne. Il y avait un beau jardin. Yeah, and yeah, that was random. What's the first bedroom I can remember? My very first bedroom, I obviously used to share with my brother. Alors ma première chambre, je partageais avec mon frère. And it was bunk beds. Alors c'était deux lits superposés. I imagine, obviously, when we were little, there weren't bunk beds. Alors j'imagine quand on était petit, il n'y avait pas de lits superposés. It was probably just, two normal beds. Alors deux lits normaux. But eventually it was bunk beds. And then, I don't know why, but yeah, so I had my own bedroom. Alors j'avais ma propre chambre. And the bedroom next to me was my brother's, and they were convinced that my brother was going to be a little girl, so it was going to be painted pink. Alors, mais ils étaient convaincus que mon petit frère allait être une fille, donc voilà, il avait peint féminine, enfin rose. Yeah, and I could see the roof of the garage from where the bedroom was, and there was a light into the corridor that I used to think was really like a bit frightening because it reminded me of like the light in the front door of the house on The Exorcist. But weirdly, I thought that was cool. You might ask why a 5-year-old kid was watching The Exorcist, but my family don't kind of impose things like this. Donc effectivement, je voyais bien le toit du garage et qu'il y avait quand même une lumière de la porte du couloir, et c'était effrayant parce que ça me rappelait le film, enfin l'Exorciste. Et vous allez peut-être vous poser la question pourquoi un enfant de 5 ans pouvait regarder ce film. But that was really cool. Where else? I remember various. I remember my grandparents' bedroom, and I always find the gentle noise of traffic, as long as it's constant and gentle, really relaxing. And there used to be like a proper chimney and fire in this bedroom. Alors il y avait une vraie cheminée, dans cette chambre, and I could always hear the traffic just gently in the background. Alors j'entendais toujours la circulation. And even now, when I'm in a room and I can just gently hear traffic, it's a little bit like the sea. Alors c'est qu'effectivement, doucement, si j'entends de la circulation, ça me fait penser à la mer. And I just remember my grandma. I used to sleep next to my grandma. Alors je dormais à côté de ma grand-mère. And I can really remember that my grandpa always used to come in and I'd wake up, but I wouldn't be asleep, I wouldn't be awake. And he'd be holding my hand. Like for no other reason, he would have just come into the bedroom to hold my hand. He was so, so cute. Et c'est que je me souviens bien de mon grand-père qui pensait que je dormais et voilà, il me prenait toujours la main. And he didn't realize that I was awake. Alors il savait pas que je dormais, que je dormais pas. And he used to like sing little songs and stuff. He was so, so cute. Alors il chantait des chansons. Il était trop, trop mignon. He was such a lovely man. And then I remember when I was 11, it was secondary school. Alors quand j'ai eu 11 ans, I remember like, and I was super close to my grandmother. On était très proches. And he was sort of like, oh no, you don't sleep next to grandma anymore. Alors voilà, tu dors plus à côté de grand-mère, de mamou, de mamie. And I was like, why? It was so weird the way things were done years ago. C'était tellement bizarre comme les choses se faisaient à l'époque. Let's think of some other places I've slept. I went once with the school to France, which is obviously a right laugh for me. Alors, je suis allé avec l'école une fois en France. C'était trop amusant pour moi. And I just remembered it was an exchange. Alors, c'était un échange linguistique. And I just remember it was in like the Loire Valley, near Nantes, alors près de Nantes, a village called Savenay, un village qui s'appelle Savenay. And I just remember that I don't think they liked me, or I don't think they liked anybody. Voilà. Alors, ils m'appréciaient pas trop. Ils appréciaient personne. And I remember like sleeping in the loft, but the loft wasn't converted. Alors, effectivement, je dormais dans le grenier, et le grenier n'était pas converti. And then like on day 3, because I think they thought I was going to like catch a cold because it was fucking freezing. Alors, je pense voilà, ils ont dû se rendre compte que j'allais quand même, choper, attraper le rhume. So, I went into the brother's bedroom. Alors, je suis allé dans la chambre du frère. And I just remember feeling, so I'd have been about, what, 12? Alors, j'avais 12 ans. And I remember thinking, I don't know, like when you're 12, and I don't know, I just remember like an 18-year-old naked guy and me at 12, and I remember thinking, I couldn't give a shit that you're naked, but should you really be naked in front of a 12-year-old kid? I don't know. But then I thought, no, Luke, well, I don't know, whatever. Alors, lui, il était nu, il avait plus ou moins 18 ans, et moi, ça m'est égal, voilà, qu'il soit nu, mais devrait-il vraiment être nu? I don't know. C'est his bedroom, c'était sa chambre. Yeah, and they went to the cake shop. I remember her surname, but I'm not going to use it just in case. Alors, je me souviens bien de son nom de famille, mais je vais pas m'en servir au cas où. And her name was Aurore. Yeah, and they went to the cake shop and they came back, and I'd never said at any given point that I didn't want a cake. Alors, j'avais jamais dit que je voulais pas de gâteau. And they were all eating cake, and I was like, oh, I guess no cake for me. Oh, y a pas de gâteau pour moi. It was really weird. And I can specifically even remember that the cake was a coffee flavoured religieuse, which is like a big ball and another ball full of cream. Oui, alors c'est une religieuse, au café, avec deux boules, de crème pâtissière. Yeah. Where else have I slept, Luke? Let your mind wander. Think. In all of your years. New York was cool. Yep. New York was cool, but again, I found that the noisiest place to sleep. I really found New York super noisy to sleep. Alors je l'ai trouvé trop bruyant. Trop bruyant. Even with double glazing, même avec le double vitrage. I found that crazy. Yeah. And I can't, and this is going to sound really dumb. I remember one of the best beds I've ever slept in was in an airport, in a hotel, a Days Inn by Newark. And I was there because my ex was being an idiot in New York at the time, and I needed to be local. C'est que mon ex, enfin, c'était un con. Et il était basé à New York à l'époque. Et voilà, il fallait que je reste quand même, enfin, local, dans le coin. And I just remember thinking it was the largest bed that I'd ever literally seen. Alors, c'était le lit le plus grand que j'avais jamais vu. It was a Days Inn. I can still remember their yellow symbol. Alors, je m'en souviens toujours de leur symbole jaune. And the manager was like this kind of like young Italian guy from Jersey who was just, yeah, he was really, really nice and could kind of hear my telephone calls at the time. Did I have a mobile cell phone then? I'm trying to think. Et voilà. Et le directeur, le gérant, était ce mec américain, mais d'origine italienne, qui savait que j'avais des problèmes parce qu'il entendait mes appels. Est-ce que j'avais un portable à l'époque? Je pense pas. Where else have I slept? I've done lots of Airbnbs, which were really, really lovely. Yeah, that was the bedroom that I sleep in Besançon. I always sleep so well in Besançon. Je dors toujours très bien à Besançon. Whether it's with my friends, alors que ce soit avec mes amis, or whether it's like the one year they were in the south. Alors, une année, ils étaient dans le sud, so I stayed with the students. Alors, j'ai dormi avec les étudiants. Enfin, j'ai couché avec les étudiants. Yeah. And one of the reasons I really always sleep well in France, alors une des raisons effectivement pour lesquelles je dors toujours bien en France, is just shutters. Is that what you call them, shutters? Shutters, des volets? The pieces of wood that you close outside a window. Window shut. Is that a word, or am I inventing something in English? My God, I'm having a real problem with English. Alors j'ai du mal avec l'anglais. Des volets. Yeah, it just, yeah, or a blind, this door, but normally you have like, yeah, shutters. Because I'm super sensitive to light. Alors moi, je suis très sensible à la lumière. I'm trying to think of other places to give you some. Oh gosh, yeah, and one of the best places I sleep ever is in Wales, in where my mom's got a cottage in Snowdonia. Alors ma mère, elle a une petite maison près de la mer, dans un parc national. And the house is like 400 years old, and it's like built into the cliff. Alors la maison à 400, c'est pas 4 centuries, 4 siècles, construite dans la falaise, in the rocks. Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, and that's really cool. And again, you can hear the sea. And everybody I've taken there, I've gone there with Max, I've gone there with Priscilla, I've gone there with Marine, I've gone there with... Who have I gone there with? Loads of people. Sam, my lovely best friend. I haven't yet been able to take Chris, my Russian mate. I would love to go there with Mr. P. Yeah, it's just so cool. And there's something, because the walls are just so thick, like huge thick walls. C'est que les murs effectivement sont tellement épais. La structure de la maison, that God, you just feel so protected. On a l'impression d'être protégé, quoi. Where else have I slept? Think, Luke. Just cast your mind randomly, regularly. I was always very good at parties when I was younger. Alors, j'étais toujours très fort quand j'étais plus jeune. If we were like just getting trashed and you were sleeping at someone's house, alors si t'étais défoncé, et c'est que tu allais quand même dormir chez quelqu'un. And somebody's mother would be like, oh, I'm really sorry. There's obviously like 10 of you. Does anybody want any like duvets or pillows or whatever? Alors, vous êtes nombreux. Vous voulez quand même des couettes, and des oreillers. And I was always the one that would like make the beds, because I always used to like, I could fashion a bed out of anything. Alors je pouvais en faire effectivement un lit de n'importe quoi. The one time I had a girlfriend and we were late getting back into my grandmother's. She was a terrible influence, if I'm really honest. C'était une mauvaise influence. And we're only like 10 minutes late. My my grandpa had passed. Mon grand-père, il était décédé. Il est décédé, but he died a bit before, which is why I was using the plus que parfait. And she locked the front door. Elle a fermé la porte à clé. And it was in a kind of conservatory on the back of the house, and it was so cold. We had to sleep in the conservatory. On a dû dormir dans le conservatoire. And when I think of the luxury and the comfort I made sure that lady had when she was unwell at several times in her life, I'd literally wiped her front and back, and I thought, my God, when I remembered what a bitch she'd been when I was younger. Alors, effectivement, le niveau de confort, de luxe, effectivement, que j'ai offert à cette pauvre femme quand elle a été malade pendant sa vie, plusieurs fois. Et je pense à ce jour-là. Really, I mean, we were very close, on était très proches, but seriously, I am too soft. This will really shock you, ça va vous surprendre, but I really am too nice to people. And people always prefer the bastard. Des gens, ils préfèrent toujours le con. Because I even remember when she found out that I was with a guy, she threw me out of the house on Christmas Day. Yeah, le jour de Noël. Elle m'a foutu dans la rue. Seriously, terrible person, but sweet in the end, à la fin. My bedroom where did I live after East Finchley? Oh, and then I lived East Finchley, then I moved in with a friend called Andrew. Alors ensuite, effectivement, j'ai aménagé. J'ai commencé à habiter avec un pote qui s'appelait Andrew. He's slightly well known from like a British reality TV show now, so I'm not going to mention a surname. Alors, il est assez connu d'une émission de télé-réalité, donc je vais pas donner son nom de famille. But seriously, like, he was never normal. Et putain, il était jamais normal. And, but I really liked that because I used to cook loads. Mais ça, j'aimais bien parce que, voilà, j'avais ma propre petite cuisine. And, yeah, and I don't know why, but I used to have the craziest dreams there. Alors, moi, je faisais des rêves bizarres because even though he was in his bedroom, alors il était dans sa chambre, and that was really weird because, like, generally the guy was straight. Alors, le mec, il était hétéro. People that know him since are convinced otherwise. Alors, les gens qui le connaissent, ils sont convaincus que, voilà. But he just had a breakup, and I remember his girlfriend's name was Amy. Alors, il venait de se faire larguer. Et sa copine, son ex-copine s'appelait Amy. And she'd had enough of him. Elle en a eu marre. And he was so down, alors il était tellement déprimé, that he was like, can you come and sleep with me? Est-ce que tu veux dormir à côté de moi? Nothing physical, rien de physique. He was just like, I'm so sad. I just, like, could you just be near me? Never touched me, il m'a jamais touché. And at the time, how old was I? I guess like 22. Alors j'imagine que j'avais 22 ans. And I'd never loved anybody like on that level. Alors j'avais jamais été amoureux de quelqu'un. The following year was when I fell in love for the first time. Alors l'année suivante, c'est quand je suis tombé amoureux pour la première fois, which was like overwhelming. C'était, enfin, bouleversant. But I was just like, oh my God, get real. What's your fucking problem? C'est quoi ton problème? Now I understand. Now I more than understand. And I even remember my grandma saying, have you never been in love? T'as jamais été amoureux de quelqu'un? And I was like, no, I'm far too focused on my dance and my career and all of this business. I don't think I've got it in me to really love people. Voilà, je me concentre, je me focalise sur ma carrière, la danse. C'est pas pour moi c'est pas mon sort, it's not my destiny de tomber amoureux. Jesus Christ, if I knew what that was going to be in life. Yeah. And I just remember that he had this one exposed wall, which was all like red brick and a bit like trendy and stuff. Alors il avait ce mur qui était un peu, enfin, brique rouge exposée. C'était très tendance. Where else have I slept? I've never really been a fan of like camping and stuff like that. That's never really been a me thing. For all I adore nature, alors bien que j'adore enfin, tout ce qui est la nature, je suis pas trop ouais, camping, détente, tents, that's not really a me thing. I've got nothing against it. I suppose I just need to do it with the right person. Je dois le faire avec la bonne personne. Yeah. And I never used to have a problem sleeping next to anybody. Like whenever I was dancing or with jobs or something in, you know, sharing rooms and stuff, that never used to bother me. Alors ça me posait surtout pas de problème. I lived in a youth hostel in Paris for about 3 months. Alors j'habitais dans une auberge de jeunesse à Paris pendant 3 mois because the girl I was dating at the time, alors la fille avec qui j'étais à l'époque, it was her job to try and find us somewhere to live. Alors c'était son rôle de nous trouver effectivement du logement. And she kind of was a bit shit at that. Elle arrivait pas trop bien, quoi. So that was such a laugh. And just the idea of sleeping every night now in a room full of 10 other people that you don't know, it's just incredible. Alors l'idée de dormir avec 10 personnes que tu connais surtout pas, c'est incroyable. But it was just a different time. Yeah, it really was. It really was. Yeah. Anyway, it's half an hour. I've given you my vocabulary. My neck is so red at the moment. I'm trying to eat fewer grains. Well, no grains actually, because somebody just said my skin's been really volatile and weird at the moment. Alors effectivement, ouais, j'ai une peau plutôt réactive en ce moment. Seem to get lots of sort of like red patches and stuff. Alors j'ai des rougeurs, and slightly dry. Alors une peau sèche, and my legs are really hurting. Alors j'ai des jambes qui me font mal. So there's this. Somebody said, just why don't you try no grains for 2 weeks? Alors essaye de ne pas manger des céréales. I'm obviously celiac anyway, so I only limited grains. Like I ate so much rice and oats, so many oats. Alors putain, mais l'avoine et le riz, je mangeais en grosse quantité. Le maïs, corn. So yeah, I'm just gonna go. Somebody said, just go 2 weeks without any grains and see if it can help your inflammation. Alors il faut, obviously my legs hurt because of ciprofloxacin, but just to see if I can help a little bit. Alors évidemment j'ai mal aux jambes à cause de cette merde, mais ça va peut-être m'aider un tout petit peu. Good, I'll probably finish this video and think of all the gorgeous, lovely places in which I've slept. Alors je vais finir cette vidéo, je vais penser à tous les endroits où j'ai dormi, enfin qui étaient mais trop beaux. But yeah, for now that will do. Good bit of vocabulary for you guys. I hope you're really well. I hope you sleep wherever you are. Yeah, I get lots of messages from people who say, Luke, don't take this the wrong way, but I always watch you before I fall asleep. Je reçois beaucoup de messages des gens qui disent, Luke, alors je veux pas que tu le prennes mal, mais je regarde toujours tes vidéos avant de dormir. So there you go. All right, guys. Sleep tight. Take care.